Hello, welcome or welcome back to Sapling Tarot. My name is Imogen and welcome to the unexpected part 2 of my mass market tarot deck collection. Big thank you to Sarah from Tangy Tarot for clocking that the previous video stops about 2/3 of the way through, not matching up with any of the timestamps. Please forgive me and please enjoy the rest of this video. It wasn't necessarily the cards, it was that I had actually developed the skill and I knew how to do the thing. So the deck in question, my oldest tarot deck that I've had for over 15 years, let's say. I couldn't really tell you beyond that, is the Osho Zen Tarot, which is, say it with me, a weird deck. This is less weird in terms of the artwork, more weird in terms of the man. I talk about this deck more than I thought I would, because I really thought, yeah, we're never going to mention that on the internet. But it is the deck I land on. It is my first deck. It's also a couple of other people that I know's first deck, and I like that, you know, that makes us a weird little club. And it's very of its time. And the creator was a you know, not necessarily ideal character, is putting it quite mildly. Some of the cards are far from ideal and not words that I would necessarily use, or things that I would really bring into a tarot context. But yeah, here we are. This is the Osho Zen Tarot, the system I learned on. It is the Smith-Waite system, but through this bizarre lens of kind of mishmashed Indian mysticism and other things sort of mixed together. So yeah, this is my first deck. This I was the first 10 years of my practice. This was the only deck that I worked with. It has seen some things. It has been through some stuff. It has had better days. It's a little bit worse for wear. It still holds a place in my heart because the person who introduced me to tarot had this deck. And there are some really interesting things that come up with it. It's still like my most tried and true deck. It's still, when I see a card, the keyword for this deck still jumps into my head. And I think some of the artwork is really beautiful. I think some of the artwork is quite problematic. And I wouldn't really read for anyone else with this anymore. Unless they were people that I read for a long time ago. And they, you know, particularly wanted it for whatever reason. But yeah, it's the Osho Zen Tarot. This is one of my favourites. So the purples are the majors, so this is the strength card, I think. I don't know. It's its own thing. But I read tarot for a friend of mine when we were very young. She didn't really believe in it, and she was quite sceptical and maybe slightly afraid of it. And this was the card that made her be like, oh fuck no. That's quite on the nose, that is. So yeah, it's a funny old deck. And I think the estate still exists and gives money to slightly iffy people, so I wouldn't necessarily recommend you go out and buy it. Certainly not new. You can get copies secondhand fairly easily. But also they do come in the most hilarious, like, cassette tape box. Like VHS cassette tape box. Which, I mean, yeah, product of its time, what can I say? It was the 90s. Okay, back to Fournier. we have Tarot de Carlotydes, which I've not said for a while, and so I did stumble a little bit. These have some of my favourite tarot backs. Really like them. Very pretty. Let's move that so that you can see what deck I'm talking about. Yeah, I think it's really, really nice. This deck is like surprisingly good, and it feels bad that I didn't expect it to be good. But it's a bit random, like a lot of the 48 decks. It sort of sticks to the Smith-Waite system, but also kind of does its own thing. And for a while, I wasn't really sure if I could figure out. So here we go, Seven of Swords. What's happening here? Doesn't explain to you in the little white book, because the little white book is the same as it is for all of their decks. Yeah, who knows? Why is this Seven of Swords? I have my own reading of it now, but who knows? I really like the art style. It really reminds me of a lot of books that I had as a child. Each of the suits kind of has a different era, culture, point in time and space, and also its own colour palette, and it's just really pleasing. Makes me really happy. I don't really know what more I could say. I've sort of thought about getting rid of it on a number of occasions because I don't reach for it a ton, but it is one of the few decks that I do reach for professional readings, beyond the deck that we'll get to in a minute, that I do basically all of my professional readings with. But it's good. I think I'm really drawn to decks that really kind of like talk about a story, and I think I recognise enough, certainly of the motifs, but also the actual kind of stories that I think are being depicted, that I can share that with somebody else. And I think that's also, doesn't that just look delicious? I could really go for that right now. My throat is drying out. I'm going a bit hoarse. I've been talking for quite a while. Yeah, I really like the colours. Really like the stories. And yeah, I can kind of get a fair amount from it even without it sort of telling me explicitly, which is quite fun, and I suppose kind of makes me feel a little bit accomplished. And like I actually know how to read tarot rather than needing everything spoon-fed to me all the time by the cards. Yeah, I just think it's really pretty, but it's not all form and no function. Like it doesn't pull its punches, it doesn't skip through stuff. It's yeah, I think it's a fab little deck, and yeah, another one that I got for almost nothing on eBay, so can't fault that. Okay, the final Fournier deck, we have Tarot del Fuego, a fantastic little deck. I think I've said that about all the Fournier ones. This one in particular does make the Magic Tarot feel a little bit redundant in my collection, because they are sort of a similar flavour of chaos, and I prefer this one. Yeah, it's fucking weird. Okay, there's a lot of eyes, there's a lot of fire, there's a lot of these like fantastic like blue ink tattoos which feel very kind of Braveheart to me. It's wild. Fortunately, even with all of this chaos and what I said before about the original Waite deck, I don't find this as hard from a visual processing standpoint, oddly, even though it's so chaotic, but the line weight just isn't as dense, and so I can actually see what's happening. Even with everything that's going on, I don't struggle to pick out the thing. Yeah, it's got its own point of view, but also it's a straight shooter. Like, you know, you can read it as a Smith-Waite deck, should you so choose, but you can also then stare at it for ages and find all of the weird little details and think about what that means for you. Like, I really enjoy the eyes being like open and closed, and just all of these funny little creatures and the different plants. So like, again, the guidebook has nothing about any of this, so you're on your own with all of this, but it's like, it's quite sort of traditional, like Marseille or Italian inspired with the dice. You've got a thistle, you know, a little bit of Scotland thrown in to go with the Braveheart thing that I see in it. And so yeah, you can pull as much from it as you want. I'm so tempted by the other mad one from Fournier. What is it? The El Dio de los Tres. But then, I mean, truthfully, we would be at mad deck at saturation point, wouldn't we? I guess this one's a little bit harder to see for me because of all the black, but still very cool. And I guess maybe that's the point, he's kind of hidden. Flying the chaos. Oh, it's so great. For every love and light, positive washed tower card, this one with like tiger claws? Question mark. Fantastic. And the bee. Oh, it's so weird. I love it so much. I worked with this for Leo season and took it with me when I was travelling a bit, and it's so good. So good. It's such a good deck. So weird. I love it so much. My pile fell over, and so I have done things in a bit of a wonky order. So we're going on to the Queer Tarot by Ash and Chess, who I really recommend following on Instagram. They seem like really nice people. This is another delightful queer mass market deck. I think from like a cursory Google that it's by like the same people that run Forbidden Planet, but I could be entirely wrong. This is so lovely. I talked about this fairly recently in my Gay Decks video, unsurprisingly. I really enjoy this kind of Rhizo style art, kind of the flat colours with the line work. I really like it. The deck has, so they're all like real queer people. If you read the guidebook, which I did not bring over, if you read the guidebook, it does tell you who they are, I think. Jesus, have I been telling people it tells you who they are? I always thought it told you who the person... Oh, it does. There we go. Model. Max Ray. She, her. It does tell you who it is. Life flashed before my eyes for a moment. But yeah, it's a lovely guidebook. It's a chunky guidebook. And it all comes in a beautiful, like, rainbow box. It's quite accessible. It's, like, nicely spaced. It gives you a fair bit of information. So what's it? It gives you like a meaning, a reversed, and things to consider. Kind of classic guidebook fare. And then there's stuff about all the models in the back. I knew I wasn't actually lying to you. So I recognise some just from like social media, but I tend not to pay too much attention because otherwise I think that's probably going to limit my ability to read the card fully. But I just really like it. It's like a summer night. It was my pina colada deck in my tarot bartender tag. You do get a couple of moments of the kind of visual overwhelm or the kind of the difficulty to see the details because of all the black, but I also think that the black is a really nice stylistic choice. You know, it really does make those bright colours pop. What can I say? I love the fashion in it. The outfits are just impeccable. I really like using this to read for other people because it's, again, you know, it's like what I was saying that Laura from Aquamarine 18 Tarot and Books was saying. It's nice to see ourselves represented, and while this isn't necessarily in like kind of a classic or traditional art style, you know, it's nice to see our community in all of its rainbow glory and fabulous fucking outfits. Yeah, no, it's lovely. I don't really know what else I have to say. It's another secondhand deck. I really enjoy it. The backs are really great. I don't know if I've been consistently showing you the backs of the cards, so I'm sorry about that. Yeah, so it's a, you know, it's a Smith-Waite redrawing. It's quite clear. I suppose yeah, it's a little bit of a quickfire deck, maybe, if that's a way to say it, of like, you know, it's not necessarily a super long, in-depth, juicy reading, but you want an answer, what you want, like a quick jumping off point to talk to someone about something difficult. Perfect deck. Okay, onto my working deck. This is the Tarot of the Divine by Yoshi Yoshitani. Lovely, got the devil on top. We love to see her. The guidebook for this is a little bit, or leaves a little bit to be desired. Like, you get this much for each card. It does tell you the story, but it doesn't, or it tells you what the story is, but it doesn't tell you the story. If I don't know if that makes sense. You know what I mean, I hope. And so it gives you like a little, tiny little paragraph, a couple of keywords for upright and reversed. Fine, absolutely does the job. However, I would really recommend this book, Beneath the Moon by Yoshi Yoshitani. Fairy tales, myths and divine stories from around the world. This has the stories. They are not in order. They are not necessarily designed to be read or used together. So you have to use this book or your own knowledge to find the name of the story, or you can go through the book and it has all of the pictures from the cards. I love this. I love being able to tell people the stories. Particularly if I get stuck, it's a little bit of a cheat sheet. I can just sit and tell the story and hope that some sort of insight comes to me. Fantastic. I know the art style isn't necessarily for everyone. It's kind of a wee bit almost like Disney-ish, cartoony. I love it. This kind of teal and red combo speaks to me on a molecular level. Of the stories that I know, or that I knew before reading that book, I agree with like most of the picks. The Fool and The Little Mermaid is probably one of the ones that I don't totally get, but beyond that, I cannot count how many readings I've done with this deck at this point. I mean, hundreds and hundreds, if not up into 1,000 plus. Like, it is, yeah, like the phrase workhorse deck doesn't kind of even come close. I love it. I can't really say much more than that. Like, it's my constant companion in my work as a tarot reader out in the world, and I'm very grateful to it for doing the magic, uncanny thing, but also helping people, because of the imagery, like helping people really connect to the cards. And this one always cracks me up. Like, the Four of Swords in most decks is quite restful. I'm like, oh god, how do I explain this one? But yeah, it's fab. I didn't buy it for ages because I saw the name Tarot of the Divine and I thought, oh, that's angels. I don't really fuck with angels. And then saw another listing for it and it was like folklore, myths and legends. So I was like, wait, sign me up. And so this was the end of a long quest for a deck that ticked diversity boxes without feeling like a box ticking exercise. It shows all sorts of people, all sorts of bodies, all sorts of, oh dear, all sorts of gender expressions and races and body types, and it's but it doesn't feel kind of shoehorned in there just to sort of fit some kind of quota or whatever, which I think many people from like marginalised identities, we can be maybe a wee bit sensitive to it. I know I certainly am, but I think that the cards and the stories and the way that they've been put together and the art is fantastic. I love working with this deck. I don't tend to work with it to read for myself, but I think that's probably just because I have it in my work bag. So yeah, fabulous. Loves it. Back to a classic. We have the Thoth Tarot. Mine is the AGM Urania edition. With these backs, if that matters to you. I don't know an awful lot about the ins and outs of different Thoth editions. I got this one because I prefer the box, I think. I would like one with slightly more vibrant colours, I think. But oh, it was also one I could afford. That was why I chose this one over the others. It is a probably slightly smaller than standard size. It's not the pocket-sized one. I do have a pocket-sized one, which I was sent accidentally by a bookshop, I think. But that will be in the mini decks video. Yeah, the colours are a wee bit insipid in this one, which is a bit of a shame because the colours are kind of the whole point of the Thoth to me. I really like it for colour work. That is its primary function in my collection. I like the astrological bits and bobs. I don't fuck with Kabbalah personally. Don't generally fuck with Aleister Crowley, if I'm totally honest, which is one of the reasons why I didn't think I would ever pick up this deck. But I do really like the colours. I do really like the art. There was an exhibition on in London fairly recently with some originals of Frida Harris's artwork, and that's pretty fucking cool. I would have liked to have seen that. I used to go to Thoth Thursdays at Tabby, the Tarot Association of, it's not called the British Isles anymore, it's like Britain and International, maybe. And I remember them talking about how people kind of got cross with this deck because it put all of the esoteric stuff on the outside, making it kind of no longer esoteric and hidden or occult or whatever the word would be. And I think that's kind of funny because I think this deck is arguably harder to read than the Smith-Waite, but I take the point about it having like your little actual glyphs and colours and things, but I do just think it's a beautiful deck and that the artwork is beautiful. I think some of the artwork's kind of ugly, but mostly I think it's lovely, and I like working with it for colours and pulling cards and finding the colours and then pulling other cards to go with it. I have worked with this and the Outgrow Yourself Oracle and Tarot, and it was very cool. That is a Thoth based deck, and they play together very nicely, as is probably unsurprising. Final stretch, final few decks. Right, this is my preferred Smith-Waite redrawing that I talked about. It is in a paella rice bag. I cannot remember why, but that's where it lives, and that is where it shall stay. This is my, what's it called, Universal Waite, I think. My brain is starting to melt. I've been doing this for quite a long time now. It's literally just the lighter line weight that I prefer. That means I can read with it and don't struggle with it so much from a visual processing standpoint. It's US games, it's nice cardstock, but it has bent because this has seen some pretty serious use. I like the pencil thing, kind of pencil sketching element to the artwork. That makes me happy. Quite like the herb crafters that we've already seen. Yeah, truly this one feels like it doesn't need much in the way of show and tell. You've seen it before. These are the colours, this is the texture, the line weight. It lives in a rice bag. It is my go-to in terms of if I need to reach for a Smith-Waite. I don't read with it an awful lot because I'm sure, like lots of collectors, once you sort of branched out from the original, you maybe don't revisit it. Maybe you do. Maybe you have loads of other wild and wacky decks and you never use them and you just use a Smith-Waite. I'm not here to judge you. It's, you know, just different, isn't it? Right, Voyager. This is another one that was in that big job lot with the Halloween Tarot. I can't remember now. It's been quite some time. This is the Voyager Tarot by James Wanless. We're back in weird deck territory. It is whatever edition has these packs. And the kind of funny beigey, greeny borders. It's a collage deck. It's one of the original collage decks. It's very cool. It's really squeaky cardstock and it's really glossy as well. I don't know if I've read with this. I couldn't actually tell you, but I do like looking at it and I like the style of collage. What's quite funny, once you've looked at a number of collage decks, is you start recognizing bits of like royalty free images. So like this is definitely in the Ritual Tarot, those little guys, and I think that's quite interesting. It's quite fun, although it does kind of pull you out of the reading somewhat. Yeah, it has its own system, it has its own everything. I would quite like the bigger guidebook, so there was like a little bit more kind of explanation. I do like the keywords that they've been given. I would struggle to remember what the suits are. It feels like this deck is like partially shuffled, but barely. I don't know, it's my style of collage. It's maybe a little bit more cluttered and chaotic than I would usually go for, but it does make me really happy. I do think the borders are really ugly, but I wouldn't lose the keywords. It reminds me quite a lot of the Tantric Dakini Oracle. They probably play quite nicely together. Yeah, it reminds me quite a lot of the Ritual Tarot, and so therefore probably a little bit of the Cave of Sybil, but it's not like as dark, and so I don't really know how well they would play together. I'm really running out of steam at this point. I don't know how many things I have to say. I got it because I'm interested in this kind of photography, this kind of collage, etc. I love a bit of science. I love the photos that came from Voyager. I was a big old space nerd as a child. I'd probably be horrified to find out that I turned into an astrology adult. But yeah, I enjoy it. I like the science thing. I would be quite tempted by the Sustain Yourself Oracle, despite the fact that those borders are even uglier. But I think they might have kind of pushed it into that like ugly in a fun way territory. But yeah, so that is the Voyager Tarot. I painted a funny little bag for it. I don't remember where the box went. But yeah, so that's that. Okay, the Wandering Star Tarot is one that I keep putting in my declutter pile, and then someone will tell me how brilliant it is, and I'll go, oh, I have that deck. And so then I don't get rid of it. This is the other deck that reminds me of my childhood best friend and her way of drawing people, and so it makes me smile. It's quite cozy, it's quite comforting, it's a little bit positive. What deck was it that I said that is my like comforting deck? The Every Little Thing You Do Is Magic Tarot. They'd probably work quite nicely together. Yeah, this is really tipping into too soft and nice and positive. So yeah, so Tower, Release, Enlightenment, Destruction, yeah, but like Enlightenment. Yeah, it has keywords on the cards, which for a while I also found a little bit limiting. And now I don't mind a keyword on a card, but the keywords that they've chosen are generally the more positive versions of anything. And so I don't know, I find that a bit limiting, I guess. However, I talked to someone recently, and apparently there's like a quote that goes with every card, which is quite fun. And I literally have never cracked the guidebook, so this is the first time I've remembered to look, and there's some quite interesting people. So yeah, I should remember to look at that. I think there's a couple of extra cards, like a yes and a no, or a dark and a light, or a something or other. yeah, it's a bit polite, I suppose. I say as I open Heartbreak, Sorrow and Grief. Okay, it's like, it's not that nice, but it is, yeah, it's at the upper end of the kind of niceness that I can really manage in a deck. But I do think it's really nice. It does work really well for reading for other people because then they can kind of join in. But then also they can get distracted by the keywords. I don't know. I've got like a sort of love-hate thing going on with this deck. Apparently I'm never going to get rid of it because I really hate the idea of getting rid of a deck and then buying it again because, I don't know, whatever reason, that feels a bit ridiculous. Waite Numen. This was one of the decks that I got in the quest for an inclusive deck, and like it pretty much hits the marks. I really, really like this deck. I think the only issue I really have is that everyone's quite skinny. So this is a Sacred Animal Tarot. The art is by Alba BG. It is a Liminal 11 deck, and I don't know what's happening with Liminal 11. So, you know, yeah, whatever's going on there. I do love Alba BG's artwork though. I follow her on like all of her socials and stuff, and I think that it's all gorgeous. I really love the colours she uses. I like the way she draws people. This was my first ever animal deck. And obviously it's not like animal, but it is about animals and about the kind of cave drawings that they found in France and stuff. And I just think they're really cool. I use her artwork in my planner for like as every zodiac season passes. And there's like a card association. I use that. But I love it. It's kind of like magical realism. There's like something a little bit fantasy world, video game world about it, but it's also not like wildly fantastical. It's quite simple in terms of the meanings and stuff, but I get quite a lot from it. It's yeah, it's like a good friend. We've been together for quite some time and I understand what it's saying. And I think, yeah, I guess the crux of it is I just really like the artwork. And the world that she's kind of created. I suppose there is an element of world building to tarot deck creation. I know I've seen books and diagrams and have done myself where you lay out... I ran out of memory, so I had to take a little bit of a break. But I think what I was saying was where you lay out all of the cards from the Smith Waite and you can like see the geography and like you can group them by ecosystem almost. So like all of the deserty ones are in the desert and all of the mountainous ones are in the mountain, and you can like make a map of it basically. I think someone wrote a book about it, but yeah, I feel like you could do the same thing with this, was my point. But yeah, I think it's fab. I really like the artwork. Like I said, they're not like reversible backs, but they are really nice. Like I said, I don't know what's going on with Liminal 11. So I don't know if this is available or what's going on with that, but a lovely, lovely deck. And we are finishing with one of the oldest decks in my collection and is an absolute classic. It is the Wildwood Tarot. I have the guidebook as well, so I'll pop that up there. It does its own thing, and yet it is still a modern classic. I really like the use of animals. Oh, that's me saying that I don't have many animal decks. Some of my first decks were animal decks. There are some interesting keywords. Some of them are quite compelling. Other ones I find myself sort of disagreeing with. I have considered doing a walk in the Wildwood on a number of occasions. I'm not really I was about to say I'm not really a year-long project kind of person. I'm like if I've come up with something, I'll do a project for a year. But yeah, I don't know. I don't know if it's really for me. It's like doing a deckhand walk, just generally. I've done like the loosest version of it possible. I think it's really beautiful. I think I don't know. It's a bit weird with like the whole like ancient Britain thing about like how real it is, but then does that matter? If you want to hear someone be a lot more eloquent about that. Sylvie at Tarot Magpie has mentioned it on a number of occasions, talking about this deck and the Druid craft, I think. I think the artwork's really pretty. I don't really read with this deck anymore. Yeah, so 6 of Pentacles for exploitation, I think it's really powerful. Yeah, I don't know. I think maybe I'm just like not super interested in just reading decks that are a bunch of semi-historical white people anymore. But I don't know. It is something that I'm really like interested in, and one day I might learn more about it. I did grow up near where like a lot of this is very based, I suppose. But yeah, it's a really cool deck, and not one that I'm like planning on getting rid of anytime soon. But yeah, it's just not one that I super reach for anymore. And that is it. That is all of the mass market tarot decks. What do you think? Which ones do you have? Which ones don't you have that you're interested in? Which ones do you not have any interest in? I don't know. I have so many questions. I love talking about tarot and decks and whatnot with you all. This has been a super long one, so I will let you go. If you enjoyed it, you could give it a like. You could even consider subscribing if that feels good to you. I hope you're taking really good care of yourself and that you're doing all right, all things considered, and I will catch you in the next one. Bye.